Parth, do me a favor. What have you consumed most recently? Go. The age-old question. The internet is begging for answers.
I myself made a salad my mother made me.
So you didn't make it at all. It sounds like your mother made it for you.
I often have my mommy make me food.
Then why'd you try to take credit?
I feel like I was pretty transparent. I said my mom made it for
You
me.
said, I made a salad my mom made for me.
Oh, I meant to say ate then.
Oh, this is
Don't
so...
I sound like an asshole?
That's exactly what I'm pointing out to the world.
Thank you. Well, Trent, since you're so quick to judge, what did you eat
You know what,
most
Parth?
recently?
I actually prepared my own meal.
Did you?
Because I'm a competent human adult person.
Thank
So
you.
just blended up a little nutritious smoothie
What's in it?
to keep the scurvy at bay. Just a bunch of vitamin C, nutrients,
Do you just
vitamins.
have a lot of lemon juice?
It was like 99% lemon juice, and
Tastes good?
it. I guess I just drank lemonade is what I'm getting at. But then also there was toast. Had butter. I guess it was first it was bread, and then I toasted it. Then it was toast, and then I buttered it, and then it was buttered toast, and then I ate it. Um, so
That sounds
so
delicious.
that's enough of that. On to the next segment.
I'd like to welcome our audience to Craft Services.
That's the name of the show.
We're a new podcast talking about movies and things.
So our first adventure for our first digital triumph is going to be the three most recent Star Wars movies. I guess not most recent, but the newest trilogy being.
The newest saga films, the most recent saga films.
Excuse me, I didn't want the canon nerds to come after me. But it's going to be Force Awakens this week, and then immediately followed by Last Jedi, and then surprise, surprise, Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
And we're going to share our opinions, and there will be other elements to the show. There will be guests, there will be interviews. We're going to try to have some fun and keep you thoroughly entertained.
For our first episode, it's just going to be my big pal Trent Algair
That's
and
me
I.
and you,
Uh,
Parth Marathe,
well, thank you. I
co
forgot.
co-hosts.
Isn't that beautiful?
We're going to try to contribute equally, and if if a power imbalance pops up, we'll try to correct it immediately. This relationship needs to be steady, because if Parth and I get divorced, the podcast is over, and you may not know how the Star Wars saga completes. So this is all on you, people.
We know the audience is looking to our opinion to see whether or not they should check these films out.
Well, they haven't even heard of Star Wars yet. This is their first sneak preview.
Wow, I feel honored, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I don't know how they haven't caught wind of it yet. As far as I know, it's kind of been like a pop culture sensation. But the I just got
50 years.
yeah, the reports are coming in that 100% of our audience is completely unfamiliar to the franchise. So it's our unique opportunity and privilege to guide them down this galactic journey.
Well, I've been a lifelong Star Wars fan.
Since the beginning of your life, since conception, since you were erected out of the test tube that created you.
Right.
Breaking news: Parth is a test tube baby.
Well, I'm not going to confirm or deny that.
He was concocted in a lab off the
My mom's going to be listening to this. You know that, right?
Well, your quote unquote mom.
Shut the
That's what she tells you.
Okay, fair enough.
You were specifically placed with parents who kind of resemble you physically, just to make it that much more convincing.
Mm-hmm.
But if they were gonna create like a mutant such as yourself with like such powers and capabilities, then it would have to be. It couldn't be natural. Like they selected your strains of DNA like handpicked. It was a
Did they?
very meticulous process to birth the second coming.
Of
Let's not
do,
get
do we do we know
let's not get
who
into
I am?
let's not get into that. Let's just
Hmm.
Parth, get back on track. Just
I'm sorry.
tell the
That
people about your relationship with Star
that was
Wars.
my fault. Well, I suppose I've always enjoyed the original trilogy, um, classics. Um, and when I was very little, I enjoyed the prequel trilogy because it had lots of flashing colors. Then I grew a little older, and then I bought into the like hate machine that exists for the prequel trilogy. And now, I guess I would say that I think there's a lot of potential there that was missed. But I don't hate them. I've made my peace with them.
My earliest memory in my life is seeing Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith in theaters in 2005. So I guess the first 4 years of my life are a complete blur, but that's where I really started paying attention. But from that point, I guess I was introduced to the original movies and What's Not to Like, and then revisited the prequel trilogy. And like Parth said, I enjoyed the explosions and this CGI madness. Um, and yes, although I haven't viewed them in like at least 5 years, it's so easy to say that you hate the prequels because there's such a burden to go back and watch in order to change your opinion. But I feel like the universal the most people feel that Revenge of the Sith is the saving grace. Yet Phant- Phantom Menace, people argue, is completely negligible, and then Attack of the Clones is just objectively bad, and I'd say most people think is the worst. But more importantly, the new movies, upon them coming out, I like wanted to hate them, just to be like a loyalist to the originals. But I
Really? That's
because
interesting.
of course I'm gonna go opening night and I'm gonna pay my $16 to see it like opening weekend. But I and of course I'm gonna have fun and I'm gonna buy my popcorn. But I think part of especially since it was acquired by Disney and we're supposed to hate Disney for being rich and powerful, you would think that they would corrupt the once sacred Star Wars. And maybe I've closed my mind off to them actually like honoring and loving the source material.
I
But
had I had a very different experience. I mean, I think I was skeptical, but once the marketing came out, I was pretty on board with it from the get go. I think.
the Force Awakens definitely stimulated me for what it's worth, and then the Last Jedi was the first movie where I walked away and I was like utter like I don't want to say like repulsed, but definitely like unhappy, and maybe I was just a teenager and I was trying to like go against the current. Um, because my whole family was like, "Oh, what a joyous joyride," and I was just trying to be up in arms about things not making sense and acting like I knew more than the average bear, and it was my additional insight that allowed me to see past like the Disney gaze. Um, and but we'll save that for next week. And then Rise of Skywalker, I think, is still just about 3 hours of stuff I saw 3 times in theaters and still don't fully comprehend.
Wait,
So
you saw the Rise of Skywalker 3 times?
because the first 2 times I went to see it, I fell asleep and I woke up during the credits, and so I would have to pay additional installments to go back and like fill in the gaps. So after the first 2 times of seeing the movie, already investing upwards of $30, I didn't know that I didn't know some of the essential spoilers. So upon take 3, it was really surprising all the things that I had missed. But
I guess we should, since our audience is made up 100% of people that have no clue what Star Wars is. I guess I should give the synopsis.
you make a good point. Yeah, read the plot summary.
So this is straight from IMDb.
Way to
Uh,
cite your sources, Parth. You wouldn't want them coming after
I don't
us.
want to be accused of plagiarism.
We don't. I know this podcast has a lot of capital and resources, but we can't take a lawsuit right now.
It's true. These are hard times, hard economic times, and what the world needs right now, though, is another podcast about Star Wars. So straight from IMDb, as a new threat to the galaxy rises, Rey, a desert scavenger, and Finn, an ex-stormtrooper, must join Han Solo and Chewbacca to search for the one hope of restoring peace. It's a very succinct one sentence summary.
They exclude Poe entirely, even though he's one of the main characters.
Well, we both watched this movie. I watched it last night.
I watched
Trent,
it this morning. Sorry, Parth.
it's okay. And so we both took notes and we have our thoughts. So Trent, what would you say? Uh, like what numbered viewing would you say this is for you of this movie?
I've seen it at least 5 times at this point, but I watched it with subtitles this time around, which was a first. And I have to say, I actually appreciated it more, and I thought that like the screenwriting was like very quick and witty, which was an acclimate I had been resisting awarding the movie, but I think it's inevitable, and I finally have to concede to its success because I mean, just for starters, do you know the first line where Star Wars reveals that it's comedic now, where Poe and Kylo are staring at each other and they're like, "Oh, who talks now? Ha ha!" Right?
I mean, I didn't mind that because I mean I spoilers. I took a look at Trent's notes. I'm
Mm.
cheating, and I apologize, but um, you and a lot of other people say that that's kind of Disney trying to be
Marvel
more
movies.
like Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I kind of have to disagree because
All right, Parth, state your counter argument if you're gonna walk all over me.
I,
Just get it over with.
like the reason I have an issue with the Marvel movies humor is because and the Marvel movies only become the way we associate like, oh well, they're jokey and funny. They only really become like that in the Avengers. Like Iron Man 1 and 2 are probably the most like jokey of them all before that, but it's still the reason it works in the Avengers is that it's all character based humor. Um, and it's not just like people randomly making jokes, which is people took the humor from the Avengers and decided it would be a good idea to apply it to every character. Um, and so that's when you get the Marvel movies, and I don't really have a problem with most of the humor in this because it all feels like Poe saying "Who talks first, me or you?" That all feels very um, in in character for him because he's
He's
very
quippy.
sarcastic. He's supposed to be that way, and you don't really hear like Ray or like you don't hear Leia or something like each person's humor feels very attuned to them.
Yeah, but I definitely think that this movie is trying to be funny more.
It's definitely the most comedy oriented Star Wars movie.
Hit. I wouldn't say. I would say it's like hitherto. It's the most. It's one searching for the most laughs because I think the originals are funny in like a subtle way that don't draw attention to themselves, and then the prequels bring in like Jar Jar Binks for comic relief, which was unsuccessful. But I do think that this strikes like a balance. Like I think BB-8 is great comic relief, and I think that there are a lot of good moments that I was trying to contain myself, but I had to chuckle. Disney earned it.
So you say you don't have an issue with the humor?
I really wanted to hold a grudge against it because an argument I've heard, via many YouTube conspiracy, is that like the Marvel universe is somewhat like an absurd idea, being that it's superheroes walking around New York City, and New York City isn't like that. So
It calls attention to itself.
so there's
It's not meant to be like they make a point of saying, "Isn't this wacky?" Like it's not, as opposed to Star Wars, where the world is wacky and everybody kind of knows that.
Yeah, I just think in with superheroes, there's already a suspension of disbelief, and so it's like satirical that they're like that they're acknowledging like the inherent stupidity of it. But Star Wars, like it's a drama that takes place in space, and there's no reason for it to be stupid. Um, but
I mean,
I
I
I no
I feel like
I think that argument could be made if it wasn't done as well as it was.
yeah. Although I would like the original trilogy is not even the original trilogy has its fair share of stupid humor. Like it's not like it doesn't even Empire takes doesn't take itself that seriously. Like it takes what I think it does is it strikes a correct tonal balance by basically having all of the character stuff that remains serious because that's what you're supposed to take seriously. But they do have like all sorts of I mean, there's a whole like subplot about like C3PO getting torn apart, and then Chewbacca like puts him on backwards and shit. So it's like it's not like it's devoid of stupid humor. It just knows when and how to apply it, which I think Force Awakens it does it more, but I think it doesn't take away from the seriousness or the gravity of the situation.
I think maybe I'm just blind to the comedy of like the 70s and 80s movies because the jokes are like of their time, so I don't really recognize them. But like the jokes in this are like so
It,
2015 that
it feels a lot more modern in which I guess for like the whole movie feels more modern.
well, yeah, just like the language the characters use is even though it's like only 30 years since the end of Return of the Jedi, it's updated itself to take place in our version of modern day, which I guess makes sense.
I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm fine with that. The only reason the original trilogy people talk the way they do is because of George Lucas, and he can't write convincing dialogue.
Mm.
So I'm fine with people sounding like real people.
Uh,
But
I'm confused about the First Order. Like in the title crawl, it says that they've risen from the ashes of the Empire. Great, but I'm wondering like how, like what was
that,
like
that's an issue I had when I was watching it this time because I was a huge fan of this movie. Like at a certain point, I'll say it, this was my favorite Star Wars movie.
bold.
Um, and but it's not anymore. But it's like third. But like watching it this time, I just felt like the not that it like really matters for the journey of the characters and things, but like the whole idea that there is a republic, but then there's also the First Order, but then there's also the Resistance, which is secretly being fueled by the Republic. So it's all very confusing, and the
So
whole
many,
scene
so many moving
where
parts.
yeah, and the scene where the First Order destroys the Republic doesn't. It's a well shot, it's a well made scene,
Is
but
that
it
is that
doesn't.
where is that where they blow up the 5 planets at once?
Yeah, like it just doesn't have much impact because we don't understand what that changes really.
Were those just like the Republic? They were all contained to that one like system, which were conveniently nearby each other.
I'm gonna attribute that to J.J. Abrams writing.
I had no idea with that. I thought that they were just blowing up 5 planets, much like an Alderaan, to like set an example. But I thought that it was pointless for that. Like they could have exploited like the resources and like the people on those planets, or like turn them to their side. But if you just like obliterate them, and also if you're gonna like set a precedent, like disobey us and we'll blow you up. then like why waste an additional 4 planets that you could use to your own benefit?
Uh,
Because
like I agree, but it also ultimately I feel like it doesn't matter.
but here, okay, at this point in the movie where they blow up those planets, the Resistance has the star map, so there's no reason why the First Order shouldn't go like, hey, if you don't give that to us, we're gonna blow up these 5 planets. And then I feel like the Resistance would be hard pressed to not agree with that ultimatum. Um, and then the movie is just over. So I feel like that is like a lapse in logic.
There's lots of lapses in logic and convenient. I mean, like this is for a J.J. Abrams movie. I feel like this has the least amount of like blatant like plot holes, I guess, like or plot holes and plot conveniences. I'm okay with not knowing. I would prefer if I didn't, but I'm okay with not really understanding how the politics of everything works because it's pretty clear that J.J. Abrams doesn't really give a shit about how the politics of this stuff works because what's important is the characters, and all you need really is the compression force of the First Order, and that's basically, that's the enemy. And so I'm okay with him simplifying things down and not trying to, like, well, realistically, if you wanted to create, like, be more mighty, you would want to take over those planets and strip them of their resources. And I'm okay with him saying they just want to use Starkiller Base as a blunt force instrument and just destroy planets. I mean, it's pretty. You could make the same case for. You really could make the same case for the original Star Wars.
In what regard?
Like, why would you blow up Alderaan?
To show Princess Leia that you're not playing around.
But I mean,
But
that's
also,
what they're
that was
doing
that was
here
them
too.
testing it out. They didn't even know if it worked yet.
But like the whole point of making the Starkiller Base or the Death Star, like the
What is
whole
intimidation factor?
yeah, I mean, like I'm fine with it being used. I'm okay with it. Like I don't really have an issue with it. The only issue I have is that that scene is supposed to be emotional and mean something, and Finn yells like they destroyed the Republic. It's all gone,
But you
and
don't
it's like
even know like what the Republic is or why we should
we
care
don't. Yeah,
about
we
it.
don't. The only problem I have with it is that it doesn't mean anything because it's never fully explained to us.
Well, I guess you're just left to assume that the Republic from the prequel trilogy that had been toppled has now been restored, and it's just like the democratic galactic government, and then they're solely opposed by the First Order. But I'm wondering, like, what was the refractory period between the Empire and the First Order? Because and I
It's 30 years. The movie takes place 30 years afterwards.
well, no, I understand that, but it's like how long after like having your second Death Star blown up are you like, all right, like let's try this a third time?
That's yeah, yeah.
And also, how when did they decide to start recruiting like real human babies for their stormtroopers rather than the clone technique from prior?
Well, that happens. I mean, that happens between the prequel trilogy and original trilogy.
What? What?
Yeah.
When? Who mentioned
Well,
that?
well, it's. I mean,
No one told me.
well, I mean, if that's an issue you have, then that's not really an issue that with this like Force Awakens, because that what basically happens is that I guess George, because you mentioned the Clone Wars in Episode 4, right?
Yeah.
He was like, well, I should have a clone army in my prequel trilogy explaining everything.
So you're saying that they only like they were only identical like genetic replicas because George Lucas had that one like throwaway line of dialogue?
Absolutely, because and then also like in I'm not sure which of it is canon and which of it isn't, but it's supposed to be that in like extended universe shit, like that they stop using clones um, between the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy because um, what's it called? Like if you look at the original trilogy, they're all different heights. They all have different voices. Like it doesn't make any sense for them to not be
Correct.
like normal people. So
But
I
I
don't I
feel
don't have an
I
issue.
feel like calling them the clone army, like you really could have gotten away with like a looser definition of the word clone. He didn't really have to like lean into this mistake so much because I feel like it confuses
No,
it.
it wasn't even a mistake. It was literally just in one line. Luke talks about how, oh, you were there for the Clone Wars, and then George Lucas decided to take that one line and extrapolate it into this entire plot of the second prequel.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
Uh, Another thing I thought was silly. This literally the second shot of the movie where there's the troop transport going to Jakku with all the stormtroopers on board. Is that the electricity is flickering and also the ride is very bumpy. Meanwhile, space has no terrain, which I thought was silly.
I feel like it doesn't matter.
You're
It's done for.
you're just willing to look past these gaping holes.
Here's the thing, J.J. Abrams has a penchant for doing things that don't really make sense but what it does do is it allows for visual clarity and or like pacing, like like to make things better paced. And like stuff like that doesn't really bother me because it's not that's done very clearly because the light flickering would be pretty cool and I'm okay with like it being rumbly in the spaceship because they're landing and it's supposed to kind of be like troops going into. I mean the stormtrooper is all just very blatantly stolen from World War II,
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
and
wait,
and it's
Parth,
all supposed to be like
it's
tanks going into like in Saving Private Ryan,
supposed
like
to be
it's
the
all like
storming of D-Day, Parth. Let's just say it.
yeah. I'm saying J.J. Abrams did not only steal from A New Hope, but he also stole from Saving Private Ryan,
And
and is a hack.
for that he will be punished. Yeah, he has no original ideas. I think Kylo Ren, while like at minute 7, it is revealed that he is related to like
Somebody.
a light side main character, and then about an hour in, he takes his mask off for the first time, and to me, okay, like with the original trilogy where it took 2 full movies to find out where like, oh, like Vader's Luke's father. It just feels like they're catering to the fan service like almost immediately.
I almost completely disagree.
Fine, Parth, take it away. State your mind.
The okay, so upon this rewatch of Force Awakens, I feel like it kind of gets taken further with Last Jedi, but like it's kind of a meta commentary on Star Wars itself in that like the whole point of the Force Awakens is that it was supposed to basically reunite fans after the prequels were so wildly different from the original trilogy, and it basically wanted something safe that could unite the fan base.
And boy, was
And
this safe.
this is safe, but other than Starkiller Base, I'm okay with it reusing the same plot beats as A New Hope because it's not like trying to hide. Like people treat it like it's a gotcha, but it's not like they ever tried to hide that it was pretty much the same thing as A New Hope. The idea is that it's all being used as a structure so that you have a vehicle for your new characters to be bounced
with
into.
with the fan favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea like oh like Luke Skywalker like being a myth like and Rey not being really sure what that is and all of that stuff like I feel like that's a cool way because it makes Rey your audience surrogate who's sort of been she kind of becomes the person that doesn't really know what Star Wars is and doesn't know all of these things.
I think them not being knowledgeable of the past though is just like practically like fool like it's ridiculous because the entire galaxy is ruled by this like fascist dictator that's blowing up planets and building Death Stars, and then this rebellion comes along, like led by some Force users, and they like topple the regime. And I think that that would like go down in history, and everyone would be
Well, it would, but she's on Jakku, which is like a nowhere planet. So like I can buy that she has no clue who like Luke like I can buy that.
one scene made me reflect on that in particular, where Finn and Han are talking and they're throwing a bunch of space lingo back and forth, and I was like, "Huh. Well, I know that Finn has been in the First Order's like captivity his entire life, so that means he must have been through some sort of like education system to be taught like how to be good soldier." And thinking about like their evil school system is really funny, because it seems like they had like space history and they had like space geography and all and but Finn only speaks English while Rey speaks a bunch of other languages, so the First Order isn't bilingual. It is confirmed.
Mm. What I was gonna say was basically to get back to Kylo Ren.
Sure.
I Kylo Ren is my favorite Star Wars character.
I I I can't fight you on that, Parth. Elaborate. Tell the audience why.
So here's the reason why. Because I don't think what they're trying to do with Kylo Ren is what they're trying to do with Darth Vader. With the whole like meta thing that they've kind of done with The Force Awakens and again further than The Last Jedi is that all of these characters are to varying levels aware of the past, right?
Sure.
And so because of that, they the whole series. I mean, I really like the like opening sequence of Rey on Jakku, where she's like sitting in the ruins of a star destroyer and of an AT-AT, and it feels like fan service, but it feeds into this whole idea that they are in the ruins of the previous saga,
Mm-hmm.
and where do you go from here? And so Kylo Ren to me is like he's interesting because he's kind of an inversion of Darth Vader, of somebody that he is just a fanboy. If Rey is the surrogate for the normal audience member, Kylo Ren is a surrogate for crazy people that love Star Wars. And he's not, Darth Vader has a mask on because he's like severely like physically damaged, whereas
But Kylo
Kylo Ren.
Ren just does it in like nostalgia for his admiration for Darth Vader.
Exactly. Like he so wants to be like Darth Vader that he creates this whole masquerade. Like I really like the idea that he is not a monster. He's just trying to pretend like that. And that kind of the where that point gets supported is like that whole one of the better scenes in the movie is like Rey and Kylo Ren like Kylo Ren's trying to like use the Force and
To
get
extract the map from her brain. Yeah.
right, and she's fighting him back on that, and she's like, oh well, you're just scared you're never gonna be like Darth Vader,
Yeah.
and like the tantrums and all of that. Like I feel like all of that is very cool, and it's a way of it's kind of a comment on like the rage that like this sort of mistaken admiration can take you.
Also, I think his young behavior is like very reminiscent of like Anakin Skywalker when he was
Exactly.
starting to get tempted by the dark side, and instead of slaughtering sand people and young Padawans, he just takes it out on like his desktop and his assistants,
Exactly.
which is understandable.
And I think that it's much more it's a very interesting idea to have somebody that's in the dark side and feels the light side calling to them, and they want to shut that out and remain in the dark side, which is kind of an inversion of Darth Vader. I feel like it's an interesting dynamic, and and because of that, I feel like it's not fan service in that regard. Or trying to, oh, don't you remember when we took the mask off in Empire and Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, and I agree that like Adam Driver is a great actor, but it just and I understand that you want to like show that off because he's a lot more emotive when you like, get to see his face and everything. But it just feels like there wasn't as much of a reveal because like I didn't have time to like grow curious as to like what he like looked like because it was available to me like pretty soon. Like if I didn't get to see what his face, like what he looked like until like the last movie, I would have been so curious. But now it's yet.
But I feel like I don't know what that serves though, because that's kind of just like it's just a mystery for no reason.
It's a mystery for the sake of mystery. Yeah.
Like it's because like Darth Vader, like what does he look like? That's not really like something that's part. No, that's not really part of the like. Oh, what is Darth Vader? What is he under the mask? That's not really what any of the movies are about. The fact that we see who he is under the mask is just a byproduct of the story.
At least in the
You know?
original trilogy, I guess there's no reason to be that curious, like to wonder about Vader's appearance because at that point I don't even think he's human until you find out that he's related to another human
Yeah.
character. Because at that point he could just be like some robotic evil guy, and as far as we know this galaxy has those. I think that Kylo Ren like had to be related to. Yeah, because if just like some random new evil guy we've never heard of was now like the main antagonist, we'd be like, oh, like I, we don't care if this human named like Jonathan like became evil one day and then like started and then became relevant and powerful because none because the original fans were like, well, that's so disjointed, like has nothing to do with like the Empire. But with Rey's parents, I feel like the only reason people criticize the trope of this generation being like loosely related to the old generation is because this entire movie is like tiptoeing around revealing who Ray's parents are, and I largely think that because at this stage in the development, they didn't know who they wanted it to be, so they just wanted to leave their options open, and that's what they did.
But I don't feel like they. I think, well, obviously J.J. Abrams wanted her to be related to somebody, but I don't. I don't know. I feel like it's not whether it was the intention of the filmmakers or not. I feel like you gain nothing by making her related to somebody else because it doesn't add anything unless like Kylo Ren. The reason it works that he's the son of Leia and Han is that that's his primary motivation is that he is angry at those that raised him and this is his way of lashing out. Whereas making Rey, whose entire character has basically been created when she wasn't raised by anybody, trying to find, well, who are her parents? I don't feel like that's even a question in the movie. It's
I
more so, will they come back?
It's so infuriating to me, like watching Ray like pass up very like tempting opportunities to like move forward with her life when she's already been waiting for her parents for like 15 years. And I was like, Ray, it's time to give up hope. They in
I mean, that's her character arc. I mean, then she call the lightsaber calls to her, and then she goes on to find Luke Skywalker. So
Do you know how Ray keeps a tally chart in her AT-AT of like since her
yeah,
parents left her? She doesn't use the slash every 5.
I think that every time that I watch it.
Yeah, it's infuriating. Like at a glance, there's no way for her to be like, okay, my parents abandoned me this long ago. It,
Yeah,
that's fine though. I'll learn to forgive. Um, this is the first Star Wars movie where you like see characters bleed.
Is it?
I
I
mean,
feel like
yeah,
you see blood in Empire.
well, you see blood in New Hope when the guy in the cantina gets his arm severed, but in this movie, Kylo Ren gets shot and bleeds.
And starts punching his wound.
Yeah, he really just like shows it who's boss. But my question is like, shouldn't lasers, much like lightsabers, like immediately cauterize the wound?
I guess, but again, like
You're willing to look past these trivialities, Parth?
because the point is that you need a visual way to show
He's injured.
you need to show that he's injured, but not so injured that he can't like be in combat. And I'm fine with like again, it's the thing of like there are people that'll be that there are two types of Star Wars fans in my eyes. There's the Star Wars fans that really get into the lore of things and it really matters to them, like the spaceships, the like the types of spaceships. Well, what does a lightsaber actually do? How does it function? There's kyber crystals and all of that. And then there's what and that I think that's mostly like from the prequel trilogy because the prequel trilogy basically just exists to answer questions people had about the original trilogy. Whereas the original trilogy kind of uses spaceships and lightsabers and everything like that
And it
as
just considers
a
it accepted.
well, it's just background. It's just a background thing for this story of in the first movie an adventure story and like it's all just a background. It's not the point of the movie. And so with the what I find is with Star Wars when you get into disagreements with people, you generally if you disagree with somebody in a lot of the cases it's from a fan that just views Star Wars differently because to some people Star Wars is all of the specifics and how things work and to other people it's that stuff can not really matter as long as the character stuff works.
So,
So
Parth, am I delusional, or does this entire movie lay the groundwork for a Finn-Rey romance that is then immediately abandoned?
I think there's a lot of scenes where it feels like that, but I feel like
She
the mo
she kisses him, Parth. Did that mean nothing to
on
you?
the forehead, on the forehead. I've kissed you many times on the forehead.
And other places.
Well, we don't
Let's
need to get into that.
talk about that on our own time.
Anyways, see you at 7. The moment at which there would logically be a kiss is when they reunite on Starkiller base. And when that doesn't happen, I go, okay, so platonic.
Also, I was expecting a kiss between Han and Leia. But I'll settle for a hug. I thought that was tasteful. But I have to say, I found, like, of course, nice to see Carrie Fisher again. Rest in peace. So I can't be too hard when the actor is dead. But I thought, and it's not her fault because I'm about to criticize the script. I thought that all of her lines were like so preachy and that she overacted it a little bit. But I have to compliment the dynamic between her and Han because you could really sense like the depth of their like the history of their relationship, like what brought them together and like what eventually broke them up.
I like seeing them together. I like their first interaction. I feel like with the like different hair, like different your jacket's the same. Like I feel like that stuff is good. But on the whole, I feel like especially Harrison Ford's dialogue for some reason, it was just the most expository like he is our son. I saw him, our son. He's too gone. And then Leia's I want him back. Don't you understand? We were the ones that turned him to the dark side. I sent him off to Luke to train.
I agree.
But then that didn't work.
It's like they never had this conversation before. Also, they keep referring to him only as our son, just so they can call him Ben in the third act. And you're like, oh, that's a character. That's the name of a character we know.
Yeah. Like I don't have an issue with that necessarily, but I'm generally fine with kind of shoddy exposition, but it was just so blatant this time that I was watching it.
When it really grinds my gears?
Let's hear it.
How objects and, knickknacks, essential items from earlier movies magically reappear with no explanation, like Vader's helmet, which was burnt to a crisp on Endor, and probably like sold by an Ewok on the internet, and then Luke's lightsaber that, as we all know, got cut off at Cloud City, and wouldn't no one found that. It's long gone, and we just need to let go. We can use new items. It's fine. I'm sure that these new that the old lightsabers are very powerful and will trigger Rey to have all sorts of dramatic nightmarish flashbacks. But and then Han, rightfully so, is like, "Hey, Maz, like, where'd you find this?" And she's like, "Oh, I'll tell you later. Since we are conveniently under attack, there's no time for this story that I can't answer."
Yeah, I mean that's another. Okay.
Are you willing to look past this, Parth?
Okay, I realize I'm coming off as a very big apologist for a lot of the conveniences that come about. But
You're just very forgiving, aren't you?
okay, here's the reason I'm okay with it, is because, again, the whole like meta thing. Like, if we're to take like, if it's supposed to be these people living within the ruins and the like past of the original trilogy and continuing on from there, you're going to need some of the iconography of it, right? And I'm okay with I'm okay with the Darth Vader helmet. I mean, it's weird that would be there, but again, like it's so much more visually affecting for you to see Darth Vader's burnt up helmet than it would be if he was just talking to the Force or something like.
So like a framed picture of him.
Yeah, like it's just gonna be like that's just like humans will react more viscerally to a physical object than they will the abstract idea of him talking to forced Anakin.
That's just Hollywood. That's just Hollywood, baby.
Exactly. And so the lightsaber is more egregious, but again, because it's Anakin's and then it's Luke's, but I'm okay with it even though it doesn't really make sense because it serves a story purpose, which is you have Finn trying to take on that like just when he gets it, and then Rey taking it on. So I'm okay because it furthers the thematic stuff the movie is trying to go for.
Is it just me, or do you think that there would have been like mutinies or like strikes or like unionization among the employees of the First Order? Because I feel like all they do is like commit genocide, and I know that they're like taken from a young age and like manipulated, but I feel like there has to be some sort of like unrest. Well, I guess there was like the Nazis, and there wasn't that many turncoats. But wait, Parth, did you see the obvious Nazi parallels with General Hux?
When they raise their left arm?
Oh, and they put it in a certain position, which reminds me of something.
Star Wars is pretty known for being pretty subtle, so I'm quite bothered that they made this so obvious. This is kind of random, but I did research on the production history of this movie.
Wait, Parth, tell us about the production history of the movie. Quit wasting time. Just get into it.
Okay. Basically, 2012, Lucasfilm is acquired by Disney.
They got bought for a bunch of money.
For $4 billion.
Whoa. Parth, do you have $4 billion?
Every now and then.
Really?
Let's not get into that.
Okay.
Anyways, so basically George Lucas had treatments he had sequel story ideas and had treatments for episodes 7, 8, and 9, which he gave over to Disney, and then Disney
shredded them.
Looked at them and swiftly threw them into the trash can, and then lit the trash can on fire.
And then they put the trash can, and they sent it into space.
In a dumpster.
So no one.
Oh, in space.
Yeah. Oh no, it was one of those space dumpsters.
Right.
They had to
space
be
dumpster fires, which are Rare but known to happen.
Okay, so the scripts are obliterated. Then what happens?
So basically, they went through a long process of trying to find the correct writer. The first screenplay was written by a guy named Michael Arndt, um, and he worked on the movie for about 8 months or so. He's known for working on Little Miss Sunshine, Wall-E, Toy Story 3.
What a track record.
But his best and perhaps most well-regarded film would be Cars 2.
Oh,
Uh,
Parth, you didn't mention that he played a part in Cars 2. I wish you'd brought this up sooner.
I know. Anyways, but basically they were trying to find the correct directors and they cycled through a few people. They tried first, they contacted David Fincher, which I feel would have been an interesting. I don't think he's the right person for Star Wars, but
Yeah, I think that would have been like the version of Star Wars like I want to see. But I think they ended up going with J.J. Abrams. They're like, oh wait, you did Star Trek a few years ago. That also takes place in space. You're qualified.
well, David Fincher, I'd like to see him take on a spin-off or something,
Yes.
but I don't think that would ever happen.
I,
But
I think that his style would be so out of line with whatever came before or
with the
after.
safest, most commercially profitable product that Disney would want to put out.
Correct.
Anyways, so they cycled through a few people. Ben Affleck was one potential candidate. Jon Favreau, who recently did the Lion King remake, but also did the Jungle Book. He's made the first two Iron Man movies, so he has a production history with Disney, and also most recently did The Mandalorian. And the closest that they came to not J.J. Abrams was Brad Bird.
From The Incredibles.
Yes, and he could have gotten the job, but declined because he was working on the movie Tomorrowland.
Oh,
And
well, good thing I
he,
haven't heard of that, but I have heard of Star Wars.
it's a flawed movie, but his thing was that it was an original movie, and he had spent time working on the script, and that movie was gonna get the go ahead, and Star Wars was gonna get made anyways. So I can kind of understand that.
Tomorrowland is then based on the Disney section.
It is. Well, it's not based off of, but it that's part of the movie.
Gotcha.
It's kind of like a Pirates of Caribbean situation. Like, it's not like based off of it, but it is part of the.
Does Johnny Depp make an appearance as Captain Jack
He,
Sparrow?
he is the main character.
Oh, what a relief. I wouldn't think that he would be like so boundary bending like that and appear in these completely unrelated movies, but it's good to know that he can cross cinematic universes because he's just so powerful.
Exactly. Anyways, he does suggest Colin Trevorrow, who went on to do Jurassic World and is now going to do the third Jurassic World, and was also supposed to do the third Star Wars sequel trilogy movie, but that ended up not happening.
I thought it would have been interesting if they did three different directors because when they did JJ and then Brian Johnson, I was like, all right, who's next? But then it just felt like they were correcting their mistake by going back to JJ.
Well, that's pretty much what it was because like Colin Trevorrow did a movie called The Book of Henry, which was very negatively reviewed,
Sounds
and
great to me. I like it already.
at that time also they had just come out with Solo, which was a flop.
Mm.
So I'm pretty sure what they wanted for that, which I guess we can get into that when we talk about Rise of Skywalker, but they just wanted a safe director.
Yeah.
But I was very pleased with J.J. Abrams because I'm a fan of the Star Trek reboot. He directed Mission Impossible 3, which jump started my favorite action series. And I think he is generally very good with characters and pacing, and I think what Star Wars needed at the moment was that after coming off the heels of the prequel trilogy. So, and then another thing is they hired him as director, and then he was also going to be a co-writer with Lawrence Kasdan, who
Who directed Empire, right?
he co-wrote Empire,
All right, I'll take it.
um,
Close enough.
co-wrote Empire, and co-wrote Return of the Jedi, and so basically the Michael Arndt version of the script, nothing came of that. They basically threw that out the garbage because he said that he needed another year and a half to work on it, and they were like,
Taking his
"Well,
sweet time.
we don't have time for that." So,
They're like Christmas. This bitch has got to be out by Christmas.
well, it was originally scheduled for a May 25th release.
Oh, a summer blockbuster, huh?
Because that was what all of the other Star Wars movies had been around that time.
Yeah,
And
but
so,
my entire lifetime, when the temperature drops, I'm like, oh, it's Skywalker season, you know?
well, it ended up working out because they only pushed it back because production wise they needed the time. But then it worked out because what blockbuster movies come out in December? And so then Star Wars had like a monopoly on the like big blockbuster, big budget action adventure movie scene.
And another thing
Come
that
Christmas time.
another thing that's important to Disney is merchandising. So falling at the during the holiday season didn't seem like an accident to me because I think there are so many decisions made in the new trilogy, like for example, like 3PO's red arm and Porgs and BB-8. I think that definitely making them into plush toys or changing characters slightly so people can get the latest model is definitely fueled by the thought of toy sales.
Yep. Well, I was just gonna ask you, what do you think of J.J. Abrams' directing style?
Um, I thought it was somewhat like understate. I don't want to say absent because I liked the movie a lot and I thought that I I just feel like when you put I just read the budget of this movie and it was nearly $500 million, and
Well, including marketing.
yes, yeah, it said that after production it was like 250 million or something, like a lot of
It's
money.
245 million, and then twice that for marketing,
Sure.
basically.
I feel like when you sink that much money into a movie, it often just feels like colorful CGI, and like it's so expensive that it, like to a certain degree, it like has to look good. And obviously, you're paying so many different people so much money to like make these things digestible that it's kind of inexcusable if it looks bad. So I kind of just take it as a given that things are gonna like look nice, and I think it satisfies that. But when I'm watching Star Wars, the last thing I'm thinking about is the direction compared to other movies. Maybe because I'm so focused on like the characters and the world that I don't really think about like the camera angles or like camera angles or movement or mise en scène, stuff like that. What about you, Parth? You probably have an opinion on this.
I do. I think it's
Share it.
what the franchise at the time needed because if you obviously visually this is more in line with the original trilogy than it is the prequel trilogy.
Fair.
But if you even beyond that, which I think is another issue with the movie, which is that I think the production design is too slavishly like we need to make this look like the original trilogy.
Well,
Like,
I think that they're returning to like basics and like using practical effects again, which I applaud it for because the prequels were crucified for in the early 2000s with the technology available for things looking so bad, and like in
well, it was, but then I don't have a problem with like I really like that they use practical effects, but it's like the design of the ships is just exactly the same as it is. Like they don't use it like they just use X-wings and they just use Tie fighters and they just use Star Destroyers. It's exactly the same as the Death Star,
well,
and I just feel like
it's the greatest hits, Parth. Like they take out Y wings because no one cares about them.
it is the greatest hits album.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
But um, and then but like to get back to the direct direction, like I think
Get us back on track, Parth.
this was the point where J.J. Abrams kind of like honed in his directing talent, I think, because if you watch Mission Impossible 3, there's it is almost entirely filmed in close-ups because he's used to television.
Mm,
Because he did Lost, he did Alias, he did Fringe, he did um, I'm forgetting the name of it, but it was Felicity. Um,
way to go.
and so he was a TV director, so they use a lot of close-ups on that, and so it's very chaotic, and the editing is very quick cut in Mission Impossible 3, and that problem kind of lessens and lessens with each of his movies. Like then Star Trek 2009 is it's still very quick cut and very close up, but it's a little bit less of that. And by this point, I think he had kind of figured out what level to do because it feels very much visually in line with the other movies, but it's still like there's a lot of like dynamic camera movements, and um, the editing is much more fast paced than even the original trilogy.
Yeah,
Like,
I was gonna say like every shot feels like it's moving and it's very wide to the point where on the few occasions where there are like intimate conversations between two characters and you're supposed to really be paying attention and feeling the dramatic tension, and just them using like shot reverse shot and just like close-ups for a change, it's like striking, like just in terms of like the variance or the contrast from the rest of the movie.
yeah, with the conversation scenes, I felt like there could have been some more interest. I mean, all of the conversation scenes are pretty much all shot in close-ups, and it's all shot reverse shot. But like you said, like eh, all of the other stuff is pretty much all shot with like dollies and cranes and like all these like crazy like whip pans and things like that. So I think it does provide a nice variance in image. What did you think of John Williams's score?
I read that he got his 50th Oscar nomination for this movie. Um,
Did he?
and I think that Ray's theme is like the best piece of music to come out of like this new trilogy. I also think that Kylo's theme is like a better version of the Imperial March. I know that that's a bold statement. Um, but I mean, they play the Force theme at least 75 times. Um,
Mm.
so I feel to a certain degree they they have so much already made music in their back pocket, that like nothing can help itself from sounding like something you've heard before. But I guess it's not really their fault because it's one conductor making music
Right.
for 10 plus movies in the same universe.
Yeah.
It doesn't like draw attention to itself, but I think that says a lot because it just allows you to like really enjoy the universe.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on Ray's theme. Although I I like Kylo Ren's theme. I wouldn't say it's an improvement on the Imperial March, but there's some fun themes. There's the Resistance March of the Resistance, which is all right. Um, but yeah, other than that, the race theme they get a lot out of that. Um, but other than that, it is kind of remember the Force
Mhm.
theme, remember the Han Solo's theme,
Sure.
remember Leia's theme. So there's a lot of that. But again, I'm fine with it because it's your first movie, and the whole point of this movie is to just create new characters and set them on an exciting path.
All right, Parth, you want to hear some final qualms I have?
Let's hear it.
There's the most obvious one, where, and this is a mistake Star Wars never fails to make, in that with 40 minutes remaining in the movie, there's the announcement within the Starkiller base, and they're like 15 minutes until we have enough power to launch, or like to use the machine again to blow up more planets. And I really want one movie to actually like match up the runtime of like occurring in movie time of because if they said like, oh, I know it's less dramatic, but if they said we'll be ready in 26 minutes, I would at least compliment the movie for like being precise because they do it again where they're like 2 minutes to launch and then there's like a 15-minute fight sequence between Rey and Kylo and I know that that's a technicality, but it's just frustrating.
Well, there's kind of a fun story.
Wait,
Well,
Parth,
it's not really
tell me
a
the
story,
full
but
story.
well, like basically, for since our viewers have no idea, or listeners, I suppose, have no idea who I am, I should say that I am a big Tom Cruise fan and I am a big Mission Impossible fan.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've listened to a lot of behind the scenes stuff on that. And for Mission Impossible Fallout, the climax of the movie takes place in 15 minutes, or in movie time, 15 minutes. There's a bomb that's going to set off in 15 minutes. And so the like climax of the movie takes like half an hour basically. And writer director Christopher McQuarrie for that movie said basically like we did versions of it where you we made it accurate, or like we said like half an hour or whatever. And basically what you get with that is that they did versions because they did test audiences and whatnot. So they did a version of it which was accurate and a version of it which was 15 minutes. And basically what they found is that when you make it accurate, if it's actually going to be 30 minutes or 40 minutes, the audience basically goes, "Oh my god, there's another 40 minutes of movie."
Yeah,
And and they start to like feel tired, whereas if you say 15 minutes, the audience is going to
they're all perked
intellectually
up.
know.
They're like, oh, all these pieces are about to fit together so nicely. Uh, They've got to wrap all these loose ends up in 15 minutes. How are they going to pull that off?
They know like intellectually, this has been way more than 15 minutes, but because you've kept them on the edge, they're all right with it. So I don't really, I used to take issue with that, and now it really doesn't matter to me.
I think it's kind of funny how like every time the rebellion or the resistance attack they come back like the winners, but there are always like so few survivors. Like when they're coming away from the exploding Starkiller base, it's the Millennium Falcon and 5 X-wings. Like that is all that's left of their army. So even though they just won this battle, like the losses were tremendous, and if like they would have really a hard time defending themselves from this point on. So it really seems like there must be a high turnover rate because pretty much like 90% of the soldiers die at every battle.
I agree.
Does R2 going to low power mode for no fucking reason piss you off?
It That was the one thing where I cannot really excuse it. Like
But he's sad that Luke left. But he's a robot, Parth.
I think that's the biggest one of the bigger examples of they expected that to get explained by the future writer directors, and it never
It's
did.
just them like pushing off the responsibility of like this this like burden of exposition.
Like, I don't understand why they did that. The point of it is that they only have a partial amount of the map, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they can't access it until R2 wakes up.
Yeah.
So then, but it doesn't make sense because they wouldn't have been able to go to Luke anyways. Like the Starkiller base stuff was all happening, so they wouldn't have had time to go to Luke and get him to come. So I don't understand why you have that structural thing of, oh, he's in low power mode and then actually he's not, because it doesn't actually add anything, and it wouldn't take away anything if you took it out.
Also, nothing like activates him to wake up besides like the screenwriter being like, "Oh, like it's the end of the movie."
Until it was convenient to the movie's plot that he needed to be turned on.
Also, Luke who wants to go into hiding because he's like renounced like the Jedi way and doesn't want to be found. He return because he's training Kylo and company and then like Kylo turns against him, and then he's like, all right, I'm gonna give up the Jedi way. But he leaves a map to locate him in two separate parts. Bro, like, just don't, just leave. No one will find you if that's what you want.
I never thought about that. Who made the map?
Well, and he would have
Well,
had to like return and like drop it off with R2, and then the other piece of the map is just the old man at the beginning of the movie who said he found it, and he doesn't explain how, and we don't know who this old white guy is. And and also, this is tangential, but when Kylo, at the beginning of the movie, Kylo captures Poe, and he's like, oh, you know where the map is, so I'm gonna capture you. But he just like offs that old white guy when I'm sure that he was the one who had the flash drive. Maybe he could have been useful, but instead you I don't know, like, obliterate his body. And
true.
any
Although I don't know if they were trying to do like he kills him in anger because he mentions Han Solo to him.
fair. Oh yeah, I guess that's probably good point, Parth. Way to go.
What can I say? I'm just really smart.
I know, and handsome.
Well, you too, Trent.
All right, let's wrap this up. Now that we've resorted to compliments, it says that someone mentions that Snoke is the one that seduces Kylo to the dark side. And do you think he did that because they never come in contact? So did they just do the thing introduced later with like the mind communication? And
Wait, what?
okay, Leia says to Han, because Han and Leia are like pointed fingers at who should accept responsibility for, or whose fault it is that their son turned out to, be evil.
Yeah.
And Leia's like, "Hey, like don't worry. It was Snoke who seduced Kylo." And I'm wondering how we went about that, because once again it's not explained.
Yeah. I don't think that's a problem with this movie because that isn't like revealed in this, or not even revealed. It's not meant to be a mystery. I don't think, but like, it's not something that this movie's really dealing with. I think it's more of a flaw with its sequel.
Yeah.
What do you think of Snoke?
I thought that he was really big, and like that was exciting because I was like, well, we've never had a huge villain before. But and then as the planet is collapsing, and you're like, oh, he's just a telegram.
It's really funny because I remember in theaters, everybody was like, "Holy shit, he's huge! He's ginormous!" And then when it's like the hologram goes away, everybody was like, "Oh, okay." Like you could hear everybody be like, "Oh."
It was too good to be true. He couldn't have been that big.
Could you imagine though if he was just that big?
That's
Like I really wonder what they would have done.
But like when that planet blows up, you do not see you don't see Kylo escape, you don't see Hux escape, but it blows up as soon as like the Millennium Falcon and company get out of distance. So I think they needed one shot of like the essential staff evacuating, but just them not having that, you're not left to believe that they're dead, because obviously there are going to be follow-up movies, and who else are our protagonists going to face?
Who are antagonists that if they don't.
Yeah. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Well, I guess we should just give a succinct review of what we think of the movie.
Do we want to like rank it, like a number rating, like a 1 out of 10?
Yeah.
All right.
Would you like to go first?
Okay. 7.
Okay. For an episode 7.
Oh, a complete total coincidence. This wasn't planned.
You look
unrehearsed,
silly.
unscripted, this genuine improvisation. Now you go.
I think
Think about it.
probably
Take your
like a
time.
7 to an 8. I like this movie a lot more than most people like this movie.
This was definitely my most enjoyable viewing in a while. I really like there isn't much fluff. Like every scene like has a purpose. Minus really like the Rathtar stuff. But
I wanted to speak about that. That's the only action beat that I feel like every time that I watch this movie, I'm like, this didn't need this.
yeah, but I like every movie up to this point has like one scene where it's like, oh, there's a monster on the loose. Like
Yeah.
New Hope, you've got like the trash compactor. Empire got the Yeti, and then
Well, they also when Han and Leia are in the caves and things.
Yeah, and they're in the giant space worm, and then in Return of the Jedi, you have both the Sarlacc pit and the big what's that monster called in Jabba's palace?
Start with an R.
Raptar or nope. We don't know.
I know this.
We don't remember.
I don't remember.
Is it named Peter? Yeah.
Wait, let me search it up.
Ask Google.
Oh God.
This is so stressful.
Rancor.
Oh, I mean, I was. Yeah, we were kind of right.
You
but
said
yeah,
Raptor, which is close, and I said something with an R. So we basically got it.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree that was the one like unnecessary scene, but I was forgiving because I was like, hey, the movies I like have things that aren't particularly like obligatory. But I think 7 is a good place for this movie where I enjoyed it. Not by no means my favorite Star Wars, but I think it's the best of the new trilogy. I will go on the record as saying that. I'm saying this into a recording device, and I'm not ashamed.
I suppose this is a segue for our end, but I really like this. I really, really like this movie. I would even say I love this movie. I don't think I like it as much as I used to. I used to like it used to be my favorite. Upon this rewatch, I kind of find
that's 2015 Parth.
Yeah, what I mean, like
you don't
even
recognize him today.
As long ago as like a year ago, like I used to say, like, yeah, no, that is my favorite Star Wars movie. But like now,
Parth is no longer blinded by the light.
Exactly. The familiarity stuff, I understand why it's there, but I can't not overlook it. So, I can't overlook it now. But I would give it a 7 to an 8. And
Parth, just
my favorite film, my favorite.
Say a 7.5.
Okay, I give it a 7 episode 7.5.
Oh, see what you did there.
But if we want to talk about my favorite film in the sequel trilogy, you're gonna have to tune into next week's episode.
Oh, Parth, good segue on our show.
Craft Services.
There you go. Okay, bye, Parth.
Bye, Trent.